Hello and welcome to design 10 for our Kinship quilting tutorials. Well, quilting tutorials using the Kinship blocks. We are looking at blocks 37 to 40. Yes, just double checking. And this design, we're going to call it Kissing Loops. Probably not a full loop, but I can't think of a better name for it. So that's what we're going to go with at the moment. I will show you. Let me just draw in this. Let's zoom in. And I will draw on the sashing for you. Oh, not quite that far. Here we go. The basic design that we're going to do. So if we're starting here. So you end up with a bit of a teardrop shape, but they're kissing. So maybe there's a play on words there, I'm not sure. Anyway, this is going to be the design that we're looking at. So kissing loops is the best I can come up with. Let me know if there's a better one. All right, let's zoom back out so that you can see the whole block. And basically, what we're going to do is, I think we should do one down the center of this. We should do this one, and we're going to learn to go around a corner and then go down the center as well. We could put in some wavy lines here just to hold it down, or by the time you've done this and these two, you could probably call it done for that block. So that's where I would, you sort of start on a halfway, on a half a loop. Now you can do them a bit fatter than I have, but the idea is that you kiss the previous loop. So hopefully that helps you. Sorry, let's just go back to there and see if we can pick that up. Now, this is one that if it's easier for you to follow, and I'm going to, probably when I get to quilting this one, I will spread that out a little, make that one a little bit fatter so that it touches the edge, and you finish on a half if you can. So you see how we've started on a half a one, just because then it fills down this side nice and neatly. So this one obviously needs to be quite a bit bigger. Again, we'll start on the half here. Sometimes it's easier to do things bigger. Sometimes it's easier to do them in a smaller shape. So when we get to the corner, we're going to bring this one out a little bit wider. Oops, I'm off camera. Here we go. So we've done this bit here. Going to bring this, and we're going to swing out just a little bit wider. And then our top one here is going to be narrower. We want a big loop down the bottom. I would probably put a smaller one in there as well, and then another big one to get us back out to that straight. Let me get back on camera. So that will show up in the quilting. The other way to do that is to ignore the corner and basically finish it up there. You can travel across here because that would be in your seam allowance, and start again here. So don't forget to leave your seam allowance at the edge of the fabric, and continue. So if you don't want the challenge of working your way around a corner, you can finish it off and then just continue here. All right, let's have a look at this one. All right, now I've got a bit of feature fabric in this particular block, so I'm going to do this design in the top and the bottom, and probably not in that block because I don't want to cover up my little ladies here. So what will I do in there? Well, to be honest, I could actually frame these ladies. If I went by those dots, I could frame them and do this design in the outside of the block, and that would be enough. Or what could I do? Or I could just do continuous curves in that block to hold it down. Don't know, we'll see when we get there. And then again, ignoring the piecing here, doing the loops, kissing loops in this section here. Now for this one I wanted to have a little bit of fun because mostly what I've used is plain. I wanted to do this nice and big in the middle here, and then I was going to leave these two, but this one here, if we have it going the other way, so starting with a half, and can probably sneak in a whole one there and finish on a half. Now because I've used the same color both sides, it's almost like it goes underneath this one. So you'd pretend, I think it would be starting here and just keep going. So you're creating that illusion by having it going the same direction. Probably do the same over this side. Again, to fill the space, it is going to be a larger design, but that's quite okay. That's half the fun, is that you can change it to suit the size that you're going to do. To do that, it is a little bit elongated, so probably less fat, more longer, and that will also show up in the quilting. All right, for this one, I think once again, probably I will do, I don't know whether that's going to show up on screen for you. The loops on this section here, depending on where I finish, I'm going to travel to here and do it smaller here, cross this way and then down again this way, keeping in mind again, draw yourself a line not to quilt past your seam allowance so that you can join your blocks. I think what I would probably do is, if I did it again smaller in my pink border, because I've got some feature fabric there, I don't want to overtake that. So if I do it again here, that's going to really well support this quilt, this block, and it won't, I could leave that center block unquilted. If I was concerned, I could do a really shallow continuous curve just to hold that block down. But otherwise, I'm just going to do really tiny around, and I probably will stop, change direction and keep going that way. I'll quickly mark the other block and then we'll get on to the quilting. Here we go, we're going to do block 37. So I've just been sitting here trying to work out my quilt path, and you might have heard me, or you might remember me talking about, assess your quilt path, work out the way to get around your block. This one, there are going to be a couple of starts and stops and there's no way around it. So I'm going to do my supporting design first and then we'll get into the kissing curves. So just let me quickly get this bit done. This is a repeat of the serpentine lines from one of our earlier design tutorials. Done that in that one, and I'm going to repeat that over in this stripe. So if you are looking at block 37, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But in the meantime, we're going to get on with our design for the kissing curves in this middle strip. All right, let me see if I can give you a better view, because remembering that we're balancing what you can see, oops, sorry about that, with what I can see when I'm actually trying to quilt. All right, let's go. So I've got my feed dogs down and get rid of this initial starting thread so it's not in my way later. And here we go. So we are going to be doing lots of curves, and so we're going to need our machine going reasonably quickly, but we need to move at a nice even pace. I'm making a circle, coming up and meeting. You might find that your first ones, like mine, are a little bit further apart. Especially those back ones, it's a bit harder to judge the distance. And so, and I'm going to stop just here because I need to reposition. This hand's getting too close, this one's too far away. So when you get to that position, you're going to lose control. So I've stopped it where it would actually kiss. Because this is a smooth line, there's not like there's a corner to stop at, which would be an obvious stopping point. So this is one place where you can hopefully pick up the curve, and because you're changing direction, you can hide any little wobbles a little bit. So you can see here, my back ones are not as smooth as my front ones, and that is purely a matter of practice, and I would certainly try and pre-mark this design until you are very comfortable with it. I have actually pre-marked this entire set of blocks because mainly because I'm doing it on the domestic machine. If I was doing it on the long arm, it would be a little bit different. Alright, so I had actually marked this is a repeat of this serpentine line to start at the other end, but for the sake of condensing a start and a stop, I am going to do it from this side. So I'm basically just going to reverse it. And I'm finishing in the corner there, needle up, and so we'll quickly get rid of that thread and get back to down here where we're going to start the center part of the block. Oh, hang on a sec. Alrighty, for the sake of the video, you don't need to see all the extra little bits because I'm trying to keep these not too long. Alright, so we're going to carry on with our kissing curves. Now this is a little bit bigger, so they might end up a little bit more longer and almost teardrop shaped. Stopping there in that corner. Now I'm not going to work my way around the corner because I think it's at this size of this design it's a little bit more challenging. On the next block I will show you how to work your way around a corner, but at this point I will just change direction. Alright, so here we go down the center. I'm stopping there because my finger's actually being hit by that. Now, one of the things with this curve to note is make sure when you're doing this bottom curve that you do travel over far enough. Otherwise, they're all going to end up on a slight lean because you haven't traveled enough. At this point here, go over far enough. That's often a spot that people get stuck because they haven't traveled and made that big bottom curve big enough to go over to create the next shape. End one is a little bit less than ideal, but I will manage. So you can see there, see, even from my beginning row, which is this here, to this row, I've improved, and you should notice that as well. All right, let's finish off this last bit across here. Bobby pins, safety pins in the way. So this side here again is the serpentine line. So just quickly that's our supporting design, shall we say. Now, having done that, I've actually come out in the opposite side. So I might travel down there just to make it a little bit easier, because I've already marked that. Otherwise, I think my brain will get confused. So we're going to do our kissing curves down the center. So I've got my half to start with. Stop there and reposition my hands. Part of my problem is my machine is not actually going fast enough to create that smoother line, so we'll speed it up a little bit. It's passable. All right, we're going to quickly finish this serpentine line. That is block 37. We'll go through this again a little bit later on. Alright, so this is block 38. Now if you're thinking your block 38 looks a little different to mine, and that's because I'm just going to bring in my coloured block 38. I have this piece of like a feature print in the middle of that block, so I'm creating a frame around it. I guess what I want to encourage you to do is that you can use not just your piecing lines, but you can create your own features. So, and this is also a way to deal with if you've got a feature part of your fabric that you're showcasing in a block, but you don't want to quilt over the top of it, you can accent it. So I've got these two little girls, and so on my practice piece I have created this frame around them that we're going to quilt in. So first up we've got these top and bottom blocks. I'll do the top one first, and then we'll work through the middle and then down to the bottom. So part of this is that you will just see me do this style of quilting, or this design, over and over, and hopefully you will work out that you too can do this. And give it a go. Sorry, talking and quilting at the same time obviously wasn't working at that point. Okay, I want to sneak in here somewhere, so pretending that my lines are seam lines, I would be able to sneak in here to get to this bit. This is where we're working around a corner, so it looks a little bit odd, but once you've completed it, it won't look as odd. It's just the design shape, but you can actually make it go around the corner. Now this is a fair bit easier because this whole design is so much shorter. I've gone a little bit wonky, but that's because I'm working right to left, whereas I have been working left to right. And so your brain just has to switch it all around. Big one in the corner, bit of an odd shaped one, and then we're back into our design. So this is another way of quilting it. If you can work, like we're sort of going left to right, but we're working downwards. That's also another way. If you can manage to do the quilting without turning your work, then that's an advantage for you. So a little one at the top, big round bottom to it, a bit of an odd shaped one coming out of the corner, and then we're back to the normal pattern. And stopping to reposition my hands. There and reposition my hands. Are getting too far away from the needle. So this is a little bit more challenging in that I'm working backwards, so my marking lines are not directly in front of me. So I could turn my work, but I'm managing. Alright, we're heading into that corner again. This is the odd shaped one, and that's where I started. So there we have that, my feature piece. Now I have to break thread here, and I'll see you at the bottom of this block. On to block 39. So as far as quilt path goes, I'm going to work on this center section first, and then I'm going to work down either side of it, because I'll be able to do that. So essentially in this block there will be three starts and stops, possibly only 2 if I can work at the other end of this block and join one lot of those. But that's the process of getting around the block, shall we say, around the block without quilting. Alright, so this is, again, we're making this design a fair bit bigger. So you can see with the variety over here I've got marked, they're quite small, but here they're quite big, but it's the same design. So that's one of the ways you can vary your quilting, is by having the same design but change up the size. Alright, here we go, working down the center of this block. Notice my hands are not moving really fast despite the speed of the machine. I'm going to stop there. So you will need to reposition your hands a little more frequently, perhaps, because it's a bigger design, you're covering more area. You know what, might always make sure the desk, like all your stuff back there's nothing that this can get caught on, because that's what my quilt sandwich is getting. It's getting caught on my light stand, which is just stopping it moving as freely. Oh, that one was a bit wonky. I'm just going to reposition that bit again, and we'll see if we can get this end bit to be smooth. There we go. Alright, so into the corner, which means that down this side, which is essentially the bottom of the block, I don't have to start and stop, and I can work my way down, and I'll show you how we do that. I'm going to get rid of that safety pin before we start, just so it's not in the way. So we're going to do this small rectangle, smaller rectangle, fingers are going to get squished. Stopping in that corner. So this little block here is this is going to be that serpentine. It went a little bit wonky. Let's just have a go. There's no rhyme or reason to anything that's here. I'm just filling the block. Ooh, now that's good practice for a design later. All right, so let's I am going to try and ignore the markings that I've done here now that I've worked out my quilt path a bit better. See if I can go the other way, otherwise I need to travel down. So let's see how well my brain does. That wasn't too bad considering I was going left, towards the left, and I was going against the marking. So I'm not too bad with that. All right, we'll just pause and I'll come back on the other side of the block. Alrighty, I have just started where I started the block initially, which tells me that I can do this block with one start and one stop. What I should have done was work down this side of the block to this point, do the center bit, and then carry on the other side like we've just done. So there you go, it can be done in with one start and one stop. So if you heard me, chat about that in an earlier video, it can be done. All right, here is the last part of this block. So we're finishing off where the design follows through, I guess you could say. I think I chatted about that in the intro part. A bit of that serpentine lines, but I am going to travel down the seam line. Just quickly get rid of that one so it's not in the way. Right, so again I will go against what I've marked, and because I'm right here, otherwise I could travel all the way to the end here and do it, and seeing as I've already done that, yes, let's do that. My brain didn't work brilliantly going against my markings. It's alright if they vary slightly. Your markings are not set in stone, but when you're doing the complete opposite, your brain has a little hissy fit. Until you've done it enough times that it doesn't. There we go. We will compare this one, but that is block 39. We'll have a closer look later. Alrighty, this is block 40. So we're going to quickly work our way across what is the top of the block and how I've got them arranged. I didn't go quite deep enough with that one. There we go. Along the top. What I'm going to do is travel down the side. Alright, this could be a little bit challenging here, mainly because I've got such a narrow piece. So this is that serpentine design that we've done previously in this set of blocks. In that outside, you might notice that my block is a little bit different in size. I'll point out and I'll tell you why later on. Okie dokie. So this one, like the frame in block 38, it works its way around the corner. So it has that sort of big bottom in the corner and then the little bit. So I'm going to work part way around, and then I am going to do the other serpentine shape before resuming these kissing curves. So keep in mind a nice even speed, a nice even motion, and you will get the smoothest shapes that you can. Except for that where I went a little bit crooked. I didn't do it. I didn't stop around there. I carried on around the corner. Never mind. Get into a rhythm of things, and that's the end of it. Change direction here. Okay, so we've finished that little frame that's in the block, and I need to move over to this side now. Alright, let's quickly do this little serpentine wiggle down this narrow side bit. I did that because I thought repeating this here would be too much. So you can have too much of a good thing. Down that seam line. So this block also had 2 stops and starts. And then we'll finish off quickly with this. Might actually be a good time to remember that if you keep your eye on where you want to hit with your stitching, then you more than likely will. So where am I looking when I'm trying to work out where I want to quilt? I'm looking at where they kiss, so I'm watching here. As soon as my needle gets to here, I'm immediately looking down to the bottom because I want my curve to come all the way to the quilting line or the piecing line, rather than going short. I know I have on a couple of times, I've been short of that line, but ultimately we want all the bottoms to sit in the one row. So, and then I'm looking back up, I'm sort of moving around, and I'm looking back up to this point because I want the stitching to kiss on this side as well. I hope that makes sense. compare our blocks. So block 37, we started with the serpentine line and finished, did the first row of the kissing curves and then filled that in. So we've combined the new design plus a previous design. Then we have the bit through the middle, and we were able to come down here and start again. So these two do go opposite because traveling wise we stitch this, then the kissing curves, and then the serpentine lines going the other way. So that is block 37. So I've used a grey on my block, so it's a warm grey which tones in with a lot of the background stuff that I've done. So basically I've done the same thing. It doesn't show up as much. I have used the feature, the kissing curves, in the two solid pieces, and that's why it's a little bit more obvious for the quilting. Alright, so here's my block for block 38, and this was the one where we did a bit of a frame because I had this. If you don't have that, then you can simply repeat this all the way down if you like. Break this up into maybe 3 sections or even 2, which will be a similar size, and you can make this pattern go across 4 times or 5 times. But this is a way that you can treat any feature fabric that you use. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to quilt over your piecing lines, and we've done a lot of using the piecing lines as design guidelines. This one here, we've ignored it completely, and we're going to do a little bit more of that in future as well, so in coming tutorials. So this was where we talked about how to get around the corner so that you can continue your design all the way around. So that is block 38. Oh, hang on, this side, block 39. I left these threads here because this was the one, not that lot, there where I talked about where I'd worked out how to get around this block with only one stop and start, and I did it on the colored one, and that is I started here and I completed this block. I traveled down and completed, actually I traveled to here, completed the swirly lines in this one, and then completed this one. Then this middle section, you can see it's a bit damp there because I've sprayed it to get rid of my blue marking pen. Traveled down the line here, completed this yellow on mine, swirly serpentine line in this block, and then I've completed this grey one to finish here. So this block can be done with one stop and one start. So that was why I'd left my threads on this one, just to remind you that it could be done. So keeping in mind that these are different sizes, so we have really shown you how to do this design in different sizes. I will tell you, having just done the quilting, that if you find that your arms, like this part of your arm, gets quite sore, feel like you've been writing an essay for hours, then have a break, because you're getting fatigued and you will be messier in your quilting. So if your arms get tired, take a break, go for a walk around the garden, whatever you need to do so that your arms are relaxed and you've got more control. It's all about the control. All right, and this is block 40. Now, as I said, I made a mistake when I drew up this block, and this is the correct block. Design works the same. Got the kissing curves in the top, and I've done it really fine on that pink, and so it gives a nice tight frame to my feature fabric in the middle. I've not quilted this part at all. It's not overly big, so I'm happy to leave that unquilted. If you didn't want to leave it unquilted, you could do, in keeping with what we've designed, you could do some serpentine lines through that as well, or you could do the continuous curves. That's always a good one to hold down a block. And there we have our blocks 37 to 40. with kissing curves. See you in the next video. Enjoy your quilting.